Before there were empires, before there were gods carved in stone and laws written in blood, there was her, the mother, the weaver, the silent breath behind all life. She was not worshipped from afar. She was known in the body, felt in the tides, heard in the pulse of the earth. Before the age of conquest, the divine feminine wasn't a concept. She was reality itself. But somewhere along the spiral of time, something shifted. The sacred balance fractured, and the feminine, the force that gives birth to galaxies and cradles, stars, was buried beneath centuries of fear, shame, and silence. She once had 1,000 names across 1,000 lands. Inanna, Isis, Sophia, Kuan Yin, Tonantzin, Lalita, Brigid. They were not separate. They were reflections, faces of the same archetypal power. In ancient temples carved into stone, in sacred groves, in red tent rituals, in the womb of the earth, she was honored as life itself. But with the rise of conquest religions came the rise of hierarchy, domination, and separation. The sword replaced the spiral. The tower replaced the tree. The sky god replaced the womb of the earth. And the stories changed. The serpent became a symbol of evil, not wisdom. The feminine body became sinful, not sacred. The priestess became the witch to be silenced or burned. It was not just women who were oppressed. It was the feminine principle in all things. Feeling, intuition, mystery, receptivity, creation. These became weakness, while control, logic, and force were crowned kings. And so humanity fell into amnesia, a great forgetting, not just of the divine feminine, but of ourselves. But she was never gone. She waited, in the soil, in the dreams, in the belly, in the moonlight on quiet water. She waited for the world to exhaust itself, to reach the end of a dead-end path. And now, we are here. The signs are all around you, and you are beginning to remember. If this message stirs something ancient in your soul, stay with me, because in the next part, we'll explore the secret signs of her return and how reality itself is beginning to unravel and rebuild in her image. Subscribe, like, and stay to the end, because this is only the beginning. They thought they had buried her forever, but the divine feminine doesn't die. She gestates. In the hidden folds of time, she has been rising quietly. In dreams, in art, in trembling hearts yearning for wholeness. For centuries, her voice was a whisper, a mother humming to her unborn child, a mystic writing poetry in exile, a healer laying hands on wounds no one could see. But then something changed. A soft rebellion began to stir beneath the surface of civilization. And it did not begin with marches or manifestos. It began with remembering. The return of the feminine has not been loud, but it has been everywhere. It is in the surge of women reclaiming their power. It is in men learning to feel again. It is in the sacred unions that no longer seek domination, but balance. It's in the rise of plant medicine, in the return to earth-based spirituality, in the popularity of the moon, astrology, crystals, cycles, not as trends, but as soul memories returning. It's in the refusal to be linear, in the slow, soft, circular unlearning of an entire age. Even science, once the sharpest blade of the masculine mind, is beginning to speak in the language of the feminine. Entanglement, non-locality, interconnected fields. The cosmos as a web, not a machine. This is not a war. This is an alchemical restoration. The masculine and feminine are not enemies. They are lovers long separated, now moving back into sacred union. Have you noticed that time feels different now? that the systems we trusted are unraveling, that what once made sense no longer satisfies the soul. This is the divine feminine stirring inside you, not as an idea, but as a force that can no longer be ignored. She is the feeling that says, I don't want to compete, I want to create. I don't want to control, I want to feel. I don't want to dominate, I want to weave something beautiful. The return is not coming from outside. It's happening in your belly, in your breath, in the part of you that still believes in magic and knows that healing is holy. The world you were born into is passing away, and it must, because it was never built for your wholeness. It was built to divide you, but she, the divine feminine, she comes to restore, not to punish, not to overthrow, but to heal the split between you and life itself. And when you align with her, reality itself begins to respond differently. In the next section, we dive deeper. Because this isn't just spiritual poetry, this is cosmic architecture. The divine feminine is not just returning. She is rewriting the laws of reality as you know them. And if you're listening, you can feel it happening already. You were taught that reality is fixed, solid, predictable, logical, a machine of cause and effect, indifferent to your inner world. But that's a masculine illusion, a necessary structure for the old world to function. Because here's the truth, the ancient ones always knew. Reality is not a machine, it's a womb, and she is awakening from her long slumber. The divine feminine is the architect of the invisible. Where the masculine carves the riverbank, she is the water that flows. She doesn't force, she allows. She doesn't conquer, she gestates. She doesn't command, she remembers. In quantum terms, you might call her the field, the unobserved potential, the non-linear mystery, the space between things that holds all things together. And she has returned. That's why your dreams have been strange. Why time feels like it's spiraling. Why everything you once relied on seems fragile. Because she's not fixing the old world. She's dismantling it. Gently, fiercely, without apology. If you've been feeling overwhelmed, scattered, cracked open, this is not chaos. It's birth. The divine feminine is reality's womb laboring to bring forth a new world. She doesn't ask you to have a 10-step plan. She asks you to feel, to listen, to surrender to the rhythm that doesn't come from clocks, but from the pulse of the soul. She's asking you to become again what you forgot you were, not a cog in a machine, but a co-creator of the cosmos. The old systems are crumbling not because they're failing, but because they were never meant to last. The financial collapse, the polarity, the division. This is what contraction looks like before birth. The divine feminine isn't coming to save us. She's activating you to feel again, to heal, to create from a place of being, not striving. That's why you're here right now. You didn't just stumble upon this video. You were called, because some part of your soul knows. This isn't a collapse, it's a reweaving. She is the hidden hand behind the rise of intuition, the return of sacred sexuality, the longing for beauty over productivity, the awakening of the body's wisdom. She is the magnetic pull in your chest that says, there is something more than this hollow grind. She is the dream of wholeness you tucked away as a child, when they told you to grow up, shut up, and toughen up. But she's back now, and she's not just whispering. She's roaring through the cracks in the matrix. If you let her in, you won't just see reality differently, you'll shape it differently. Because when you operate from the feminine principle, your very perception becomes creative. You no longer just respond to the world. You ripple into it. You resonate with it. You become a living frequency of the new earth. So if things feel like they're falling apart, let them. The divine feminine doesn't build from control. She builds from emptiness, from sacred space, from the fertile void between stories, because only from that place can something truly new be born. In the next part, we'll bring it home, not to the stars, but to your body. Because the divine feminine isn't just awakening around you, she's awakening within you. And when you begin to embody her, your entire life transforms. This is not a call just for women. This is not about gender, it's about essence. The divine feminine lives in all of us. She is not soft the way they taught you. She is not passive. She is the wild, electric current of life that births suns and dissolves empires without lifting a blade. To awaken her is not to become feminine in the superficial sense. It is to remember your wholeness. The divine feminine lives in your breath, in the way you allow emotion to move through your body, in your ability to receive without guilt, to hold space without needing to fix, to let yourself be cracked open and call that strength. She is the part of you that says, I don't need to prove my worth. I am worthy because I exist. She is the sacred no that protects your energy, the quiet presence that sees beyond masks, the unconditional compassion that melts shame without ever enabling your self-betrayal. To awaken the divine feminine within you is to come home to your felt sense, to stop outsourcing truth, to trust what you know in your gut, even when the world tells you otherwise. It doesn't begin in a temple. It begins in your kitchen, your relationships, your mirror. It's in the moment you slow down to feel instead of numb, in the breath you take before reacting, in the way you treat your own body, not as a machine to optimize, but as a sacred vessel of creation. This is radical in a world addicted to speed. To listen, to rest, to honor your cycles is revolutionary, because the systems around you are designed to keep you in your head, disconnected from your body, disconnected from the earth, disconnected from her. But when you embody the divine feminine, you become a living portal of sacred change. You no longer look for power outside you, because you've touched the source within. She awakens through the sacred emotions, through grief not as sorrow, but as sacred release, through love not as romance, but as cosmic force, through sensuality not as performance, but as presence, through intuition not as superstition, but as deep listening to the living field around you. When you trust these rivers, you begin to live in alignment with her, not with the timeline of fear. You become part of the new earth blueprint, one whose values are not domination, productivity, and separation, but beauty, connection, and regeneration. You start to see the divine everywhere, in the curves of your own body, in the flight of birds, in the soil, in strangers' eyes, in your own inner child. She doesn't just heal your life, she reweaves it. And this is your initiation, not into a religion, not into a movement, but into your sovereign sacredness, because when you embody the divine feminine, you no longer wait for the world to change. You become the change by how you walk, how you love, how you create, how you be. The way you move through reality shifts it, not through force, but through frequency. In our final part, we step fully into what this means not just for you, but for all of us, because the return of the divine feminine isn't just about healing the past. It's about shaping the sacred future we were born to create. And it starts now. There is a world being born right now. Not in some distant future, but in the space between heartbeats, a world where power doesn't mean domination, but resonance, where leadership is rooted not in ego, but in empathy, where technology serves consciousness, not the other way around. This is the world the divine feminine dreams into being. And it's not a utopia. It's not perfect. It is alive, messy, fluid, organic, sacred. And it begins with you. We are standing at the threshold between two realities, one built on fear, scarcity, and disconnection, and one that pulses with remembrance of harmony, of wholeness, of the sacred in all things. The old timeline is linear, rigid, competitive. The new is spiral, intuitive, collaborative. The old says, "You are separate." The feminine whispers, "You are the earth dreaming herself awake." The old demands, "Be more, do more, climb higher." The feminine invites, "Root deeper, listen closer, create beauty from truth." The world that's emerging will not be led by tyrants or technocrats. It will be woven by visionaries, artists, mystics, healers, lovers, parents, dreamers, people like you, whose hearts burn with a remembrance too deep to name. You didn't come here to survive the collapse. You came to midwife the rebirth. You came to bring softness into the hard places, stillness into the noise, love into the fractures. And if you're hearing this now, it means the seeds of the divine feminine are already blooming in you. You felt the ache, the pull, the knowing. It's not always easy. The path of the sacred is not without shadow, but she will guide you. The divine feminine doesn't demand belief. She asks only this: will you remember who you truly are? Will you choose resonance over reaction? Creation over control? Wholeness over illusion? Because when enough of us do, reality itself will shift, not from the top down, but from the soul out. I see a world where we gather again in circles, not rows, where we teach our children to honor the earth before they even learn to read, where everybody is a temple, where the divine has 1,000 faces and none ashamed. I see communities built on shared values, not shared trauma, currency infused with ethics, technology aligned with ecology, wisdom valued over data, presence over performance. I see sacred masculine and sacred feminine, not at war, but dancing again, in that ancient rhythm that births stars and civilizations. I see you, no longer asking permission to be whole. I see us, remembering that we are not separate from the divine, we are expressions of it. So if it feels like your soul is stretching, like your life is unraveling so something deeper can emerge, let it. You are not breaking. You are birthing. The divine feminine is returning, not just to the world, but to you, to us, to the song of the earth that never stopped singing, even when we forgot the melody. She is here, and reality will never be the same. If this message stirred something ancient in your soul, subscribe, share. Let this ripple reach those who are ready to remember. Because the divine feminine is rising, and this is only the beginning. The forgotten light in you is remembering. Don't turn away now.